because as you were talking about myself being working in 4 different continents, it is true that my work life, but also my personal life, has taken me to so many different places. I've been born in one continent, I've been raised in another continent, and I live in a third continent. And here in the Silicon Valley, it is true that it is so many different nationalities, so many different cultures. And this is the thing that I believe that we enjoy here, because change is in every second. So allow me to say that if we don't experience change every moment, we cannot really implement change. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please.
Lovely. So
Sure.
that's why I wanted to talk about that. It is true that during the last 6 months, so many things have changed in personal life, first of all, and then in the work life. While health is at stake every moment, economy faces huge challenges, and we adapt our own lifestyle and also the work lifestyle itself. We change habits. We change habits in how we walk, in how we cover our faces, in how we do our work. We do it remotely. In many ways, we've changed our social identity as well. Some of us work from home, and we avoid being with people so that we don't get the virus. So there was a huge shift this last month, and this shift has started some years ago in the workplace due to digitalization, but it has been expedited during these last 6 months. It has been expedited because of the need. And it's not just the technology that makes a shift during these 6 months. It is also the management practices. Imagine that now a manager has to check in remotely and do things without having the chance to really observe how things are being done. Also, it changes the organizational structures and the decision making within the organizations. Someone cannot really get the advice of the colleagues or of the managers all the time. So they have to have a lot of empowerment in order to work. How can we make that shift really work in a good way for our organization? This change is really much more of a chance and not just a change. It is a way really to make our work much more inspirational, much more innovative, and much more creative. So I would like really to urge you not to really lose that opportunity, lose the chance. As we're moving to this not co-located work environment, so although a lot of work roles cannot be remotely done, for example, a manufacturing job role, still a lot of the roles can be done remotely, and many of them can be done not even by a human being very soon. So how can we really move to that new world of work? And what is the kind of framework that we can use? These kind of conditions for any HR expert, consider it that as an opportunity, as a chance to work towards effectiveness. Because we do a lot of things as HR people. We do a lot of strategy and sometimes even administrative things. But do all these things really link the one to the other in a way that the organization becomes more efficient? And I use that term on purpose because in order to preserve that organizational effectiveness, you need to have a full spectrum of everything that takes place. So you need to have a full spectrum of not just the organization, but also the aspects of it. So the organization is not just really the purpose of it. It is who leads and how leads the organization. It's the capability of the people that you have on board. It is how you execute things, and the continuous improvement that creates a specific culture. I would like to add that it is very important for an organization to be aware of that culture that produces. And the culture is not really just the values that we have as people, it is the kind of influence that we produce for the society. And every organization has an influence in the families of people, in the people themselves, and in the broader society after all. So we need to be aware of what is the kind of things that we produce. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that everything that we change within the organization is being changed in a very systematic way. That's why I use this kind of plan that is in front of you, in order to help someone, in order to help an HR manager think, what are the buttons that will be tackled so that he or she makes the change in a way that the organization will become more effective. And under these economic challenges, organizational effectiveness is absolutely a must. So I will get into depth in that model, and I will explain why, while this will make you become the change in the new world of work. I will help you, in fact, really bridge the different elements in a way that it will be meaningful to you. Well, we like bridges in that area of the world, and we like using the bridging factor. So whatever you do, you need really to connect them in a successful way. Because if you don't connect the things and you just sporadically do things from one place to the other, it will not provide you neither the change nor the effectiveness. And very soon, the industry and the organization that you're in will have problems. And in order to help out into that, I will take everything step by step. So imagine that you really want to, for example, move to a new situation that you would like everyone to work remotely, happily, for every job role that it is possible. And at the same time, you want really to digitize manufacturing processes to the extent that you can. But at the same time, you want to do all these things without any resistance, and everyone to be very happy and everything to happen very quickly. So this is, let's say, your plan. But this is the plan that you have. You need to make sure that this is the plan that others share with you. The first and most important element in order for that to happen, the number one, that's why I've put it over there in that yellow box, is make sure that you don't only have a plan, but you also have a very good executive alignment and a good sponsorship. Are there people that believe in that? Did you build your business case in such a way that you made them believe in that? Are they going to back this up and help you achieve that? Can you make them believe in that and help you achieve that? How are you going to track that change? How are you going to prove them that this is really evolving and it is successful and it is to their benefit and to the benefit of the organization? Did you establish a baseline? Do you have your KPIs in place? Then you can move to your next step, and that is really the engagement part. Here, you need to make sure that you have really a good stakeholder engagement plan. You have really assessed the readiness not only of your project, but also of the stakeholders and of the departments. And then you had really created your planning on how to go about it in communication. And did you really create a network of people that will help in that change? If you did all these steps, then you can move to the third step, which is really the design part. here, as an expert in your science, you can really create not just the design of how things you want to be done. I mean, what are the job duties? What is the analysis of to be? What is the structure and the impact assessment that it will have? What is the future state governance of what you are now creating as an effective organization? If you have all this in place, then you're ready to go to the next step, which is step 4. In that one, now you only need really to educate and teach people. You only need really to understand what are the things that they need to know, because they already are with you. Now you have really to show them, to give them the knowledge. And now you really need to reinforce things and have some kind of post-implementation support for them. Now that part is a lot of transferring of knowledge. This takes you to the 4th part, which is really the active and visible alignment and sponsorship to everyone. This really provides tight collaboration between business and operations and the project team. This whole cycle that you have managed to manufacture is really providing you effective communications. This really provides you a dedicated change network, and it will provide you an end user adoption by whoever that is. Either is the person in the manufacturing floor, or it is the office people that they have to do different things in a different way with different processes. So in that way, you need very much to have a methodical approach. I emphasize a lot the methodical approach, not only because I work all my life with engineers, but also because it's the only way not to miss something. It's the only way to make sure that things will happen. I always use models. I use the Adgar model that I love a lot in order to move the change. And this makes me really not miss things. So I make sure that everyone is really aware of what is going on. I make sure that people really desire, want it to happen. I give them knowledge, and then I go to action and make sure that I reinforce the whole thing, because otherwise it doesn't sustain itself as a change. So whatever tools you might use, whatever processes, whatever models you might use, the most important is really to make sure that you have these 4 elements in place. So I want to make sure that you follow a methodical approach in whatever you do. So the methodical approach, I've shown you one. It might be something else. But what I want to emphasize a lot is that you really need to be very much a step-to-step process for providing the results that you want for organization, for your industry, for your own chains. I would like to move on before closing to say that the factors to change are definitely these 4 things: sponsorship, stakeholder management, training and turnover, and communication. These are the ones that will really define and decide the success of the change. Yet, I've started by saying that I have done so many changes in my life. I would like to tell you that the important thing is your own attitude. The change starts at its core from you. How really adaptable and versatile you are. How ready are you to change things from your own life, in your habits, in your work environment, in your personal environment? I just want to say that change is something that brings us to life. imagine something that changes is life. Something that doesn't change is not alive anymore. So I just invite you to be yourself, the change that you would like to see. It's only then that you are alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Sorry about that. There's a lot of echo. I have it playing on a few devices. Thank you. There are some questions that I'd like to sort of ask that have come primarily from the attendees. Some great questions, by the way. Let me start off by asking, what are your views on the past successes and learning stories of individuals and organizations? Are they going to be totally obsolete when you start talking about change?
Who are, I mean, I didn't really hear who are going to be obsolete?
What are your views? Are you able to hear well?
Yes.
Okay. What are your views on the past successes and learning stories of individuals and organizations? Are they going to be totally obsolete?
First of all, I don't think that learnings and experiences are in vain. Anything that we learn is really building our mind and our emotions. So nothing is really going to be in vain. Nothing is going to be obsolete. So that is my absolute answer. At the same time, I would like to emphasize that when we learn something, it doesn't really become obsolete, but we need really to progress that, evolve it to its next stage. Okay. When we were children, we learn to bike, but then we learn to drive a car.
Right. And still bike.
Yes, we can still bike, but you moved forward, and at your age, at your 20s, you also started driving a car because your needs have changed. So it is our abilities that are growing and help us do more and different things. But our knowledge is here.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Another question for you. You know, there are certain industries where it is mandatory for organizations, vendors, suppliers, as well as customers to keep records of whatever that happens in the organization. For example, a lot of efforts go into the scanning, storage of certain documents and documentation. One of the questions is, can those efforts be saved? In other words, can they be diverted? The energy and the efforts can be diverted to some other types of jobs?
That is an excellent question, because I mean, with technology and artificial intelligence, we try really to move all these repetitive jobs into machine really supported work, because human beings are much more superior than doing repetitive work. Human beings have really the mental and emotional power to do wonderful things, and they can be released from that kind of work and do wonders. The need is really to provide reskilling to all these people. So if you move someone from that kind of job, you really want to provide to that person the skills and the expertise to put their mental and emotional power into work. Yes, of course, that's what we need and that's what we want.
Okay, super. These questions are asked by Kurobi Dave. Some very, very pointed and interesting questions. Now, as an HR leader, how do you deal with employees who are resistant to change? I mean, it's a superb question from Portia from lovely Harare, Zimbabwe.
Resistance to change is a gift. Because when you really discover that someone resists to change, dig into that. There is some diamond over there. There is some kind of information that you need to know. People really do not resist to something just like that because they don't have anything to do. They might resist to change because they have gone through so many changes that they're fed up with them. They might be resisting to change because they know that what you're just trying to introduce is not going to play. It's not going to happen. They might be resisting to change because they know things that you don't know. So I say that when you find someone that resists to change, try to uncover the reasons behind it. It might be gold.
Okay, great. Another question, there's another question very similar, but how it becomes difficult to quantify the change while proposing it to the stakeholder. You're not able to quantify the result probably. It becomes difficult to quantify the result of the change exercise that you're undertaking. Any views on that?
All of them are very good questions. I think that the audience is very well educated. Love that. So that's why I talked about.
This one is from Paramjeet Arora. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Lovely. I would be happy to connect. That's why I talked about KPIs and the baseline. It is very important to establish right from the start a baseline and specific key performance indicators, because these will prove the change and they will also prove the success of the change. If you don't put this in order, you cannot prove anything to anyone and you cannot measure things. That's why it's in step one.
Okay, super. There are a lot more questions. I am afraid we've totally run out of time, but can I request you to answer them online? My team will reach out to you and help you and support you to be able to answer them online. My request is I don't want even one question from the audience unanswered, even if it is not a question, it's a statement. Can I request that from you, Anna?
I would be happy to, and I also invite the audience to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Insta, because there are a lot of ideas that we can exchange.
Absolutely. Look, platforms like these are like what we try to do, and to be honest with you, over the past so many years, that's one of the key takeaways for people who come on board, whether it's a physical conference, and this is our first virtual conference, by the way. We have seen that happen for the past 12 years. We have actually made fantastic friends out of our conferences. And there are people who even today keep saying like, because of you, I met my friend, I met my wife in some instances, so we absolutely encourage these kind of connections. And that's one of the key purposes of attending an event, whether it's online or in the physical world, is for us to be able to connect with each other. Moreover, connecting with people at a time like this is even more important, as we all know. If not anything, it gives us a lot of emotional balance and emotional connect, saying, okay, I'm not alone, because whatever is happening nowadays affects royalties, it affects the kings, as we all have seen, it affects the common person like me. So it's very important for us to connect. The application that we have on the mobile as well as the desktop provides a fantastic platform for us to stay connected. I encourage you and the rest of the panel of speakers, as well as the audience and the attendees, to connect with each other. Be mindful of time, be mindful of courtesies, but connect up, please do. Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on board. Thank you for all the support and the flexibility you've shown prior to our engagement.